I'm Leanne. I'm Leanne. I'm Leanne. Are you ready to ride the frequency? Are you ready to ride the frequency? To ride the frequency?
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Riding the Frequency. Today, we are joined by David Altman. David Altman has worked and lived in Hollywood for over 20 years in music, film, and TV, and currently does production and development work for different networks and production companies on the topics of UFOs, the paranormal, and more. David has been involved with projects for Steven Spielberg, J.J. Abrams, and many others. He also appeared in the film A Tear in the Sky. So let's welcome David Altman. Welcome, David. How you doing today?
Not bad. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Hi. You're
Hi.
welcome. Thanks for popping on.
Yeah.
Um, so you've had an interesting background going from Hollywood to like mainstream Hollywood to now UFO related paranormal.
Actually, you have it backwards. I was to UFOs way before I ever even knew what Hollywood was.
Wow. Okay. All
Well,
right. So
I
then
shouldn't say
let's
that. I knew what Hollywood was, but I mean before I ever. Yeah, I've been
jumped
into
into
the
the Hollywood
UFOs since
pool.
since I was little. Yeah.
Well, so then let me come at this a little bit differently. Um, are you an experiencer? And how old were you when you had your first inter
So,
interpersonal
as far
relationship
as
with
being
others?
like, yeah, as far as being or having a face to face thing. Not that I know of, unless I can't remember.
Hmm.
Like people ask me that all the time because they're like, "How can you be so into this and not have had that happen?" Right? And I don't know. I mean, I've seen things. I filmed things in the sky. I filmed things during the making of our movie, A Tear in the Sky. I filmed some things there. I filmed some things at my house. But as far as ever having or seeing anything not human or nope, not that I remember. It's possible, but
But so you've
not really.
basically been interested in this like ever since
Oh
you started.
yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't answer your question.
That's
So,
okay.
yes, about 7 or 8 years old is probably when I picked up my first books on like UFOs, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster. My grandmother was a librarian, so I'd go there after school and just she let me take home any books I wanted, and I mainly was into like the monster books, like the Dracula and the Wolfman, those books, Frankenstein, and then. But after I read all those, the next section over was UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster. So that's yeah. And my mom was a big sci-fi person. My dad listened to Art Bell, so
Hmm.
it's always been there for me. Yeah.
Okay, so it's
Star
your
Wars, Star
yeah.
Wars,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you're younger than I am. I was born in 1965, so like my first werewolf and vampire experience was probably like Abbott and Costello, to be honest. Like I wasn't really
yeah,
into
Abbott and Costello meet the Wolf, meet
exactly.
Frankenstein. Like to me, like that and Laurel and Hardy, March of the Wooden Soldiers was like every Christmas as a baby growing up as a kid. It was March of the Wooden Soldiers and Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. With it has Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein in it. Yeah.
Did you watch a lot of I guess horror movies at all when you were little?
Oh yeah,
Are you familiar with
yeah, I
the
was just having this conversation with a friend of mine. Like, my mom took me to see the Amityville Horror when I was like 8 years old. Like she probably shouldn't have done that nowadays. And then like I saw like a lot of things in the theaters I shouldn't have seen, like the animated movie Heavy Metal. I saw that as a kid. Probably the first time I ever saw boobs and they were animated.
I got really
Yeah,
upset with my oldest kid's dad because when he was 4 years old, he showed him Army of Darkness. I was like, "What are you doing?"
so I saw that in the theater. To me, that's a comedy.
Well, yeah, of course, as an
I know,
adult,
but yeah, that's not
but 4 years
I would not
old,
take it. Yeah,
it,
no, 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 no.
the
Yeah,
comedy
that's
discernment isn't quite
yeah.
there at 4. Like, I don't know.
No, no, no. I know. I would never take a kid to see that movie ever. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that's
but yeah. So yeah, Blood Beach, The Road Warrior. I saw in the theaters. I was like 12 or 11.
well, what about retro stuff? I'm going to ask you a very specific question because it's personal to me. Did you see a film called The Flesh Eaters ever?
Maybe,
Black and
maybe.
white
I
from the
watch a lot of
60s?
old school stuff like on Tubi and on YouTube. A lot of stuff that you really can't get. I might have. That sounds like something with like Vincent Price and Christopher Lee or somebody like
Well,
that.
Martin Kozlick, my dad directed it. That's why I'm asking. Like
Yeah,
it was
no,
it
yeah.
was
I
it
don't
was
remember.
no, it came out like in 62 and it was one of the first I guess considered like gory because the effects they had coming up out of the water and people's skin getting
Yeah,
eaten.
yeah. Like I like all that, all the old Hammer stuff. I watch, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And how does that influence your work today? Does it?
Probably doesn't. Not the horror stuff. I don't even. I mean, I don't even think that anything that maybe it might influence me for unscripted stuff,
Mhm.
but not for anything. I mean, I'm sorry, for scripted stuff, but not for anything unscripted. Like the documentary style stuff. Yeah, it doesn't affect that at all.
Yeah. Well, no, it probably wouldn't. I actually probably
Hmm.
should have been more clear when I asked the fiction stuff.
No, but I got it.
Do you prefer doing docu stuff or scripted stuff? Or I mean, they're just such different animals.
So far, I've only been involved with unscripted. I am involved with scripted stuff that's in development, but not. You know what I mean? It's
Is
not.
that Shadow State?
Yeah, it's Shadow State.
Are
Yeah,
you
I actually have
excited?
two of them. One of them I can't even say the name, and
That's
then
okay.
Shadow State is the other one that's on IMDb. Yeah,
Right. Which is
yeah.
where,
So
of
and
course.
that show, what I can say about it is that it's gonna kind of be like, in my mind, Jason Bourne meets the X Files. So it's going to be about disclosure and about what's happening now in ufology. So the main character, I guess you could take, is based off of a Ross Coulthart type of guy. It's a journalist who uncovers this big secret, and it's kind of like the Project Book series, but more focused on what's happening now. But we're also going to add a lot of the historical stuff in it as well. So we have like a ton of advisors, like Ross Coulthart's an advisor, Paul Hynek, Jesse Marcel III, Rick Doty.
I love
Um,
Rick.
let's see, who else? George Knapp was attached to it, but right now he's just kind of too busy, so we're not really bothering him about it. If I forgot anybody, Stephen Bassett as
Another
well.
great
Yeah,
one. Like all the names you mentioned. Fabulous. I
yeah,
love
they're
Ross.
all right now. They're so in other words, so like if we're focusing on a case that happened in the '60s, then I'll talk to Paul Hynek because that's the
Mhm.
years that Blue Book were active. If it's something that happened in the Roswell era, we'll consult with Jesse Marcel. If it's
That
something
makes
that
sense.
happens in the yeah, if it's something that happened in the '80s or '90s, we'll have Doty as well as George Knapp. I'm sure will answer the phone if I need him. So yeah,
Cool. Very cool. I personally, because of my background, like I've been trying to figure out for the last 5 years how to help bring all this stuff into mainstream, because I really feel like the programming that we have access to at the moment is very well, I don't know. It's right there in the name. It's programming. So the counteraction and the informing people through mainstream a little bit better is something that I really appreciate. So thank you for doing that. It's time. Like really, seriously.
yeah. I
We've
mean, I try to get. I'm trying to get the networks to understand that it's not these whatever is going on can be other things rather than creatures or little scientists from outer space. Like, let's try and I'm really trying to bring more of the high strangeness aspect of the phenomenon to TV.
And
I am getting
normalize
some
it.
pushback. I am getting some pushback. I've tried to do something on Are Aliens Demons? And at first that got into development and then that got shut down.
I'm not
So
surprised because that's
yeah, and
there. I mean, that's the
yeah,
crux of it. That's what it threatens the most is organized religion and the concepts and constructs on which our society's been built. So, like, if the actual truth comes down, it crumbles, you know. But I think, I don't know that there's a not destructive way of informing everybody because somebody's going to get disappointed, like, and somebody's going to
hmm
react, like. But at
yeah.
what point do we? um, stop saving the few from total meltdown and save the collective from.
The problem is like when I shouldn't say when they, I should say when we, because I'm part of the process, but I'm not
But we
part of the
all
problem
are.
in my opinion. So like when we're making a show, like we have to remember that we're making this show for people that don't know shit about UFOs. It's for people that don't know anything about UFOs, So that's where a lot of the disappointment comes from because, in a way, they kind of have to dumb it down and do it without shocking the public, right?
Well,
So
what that
that's what they do. That's why, like, when you watch certain movies or show, all these directors put in certain Easter eggs or they mention certain obscure things that only certain people will understand because these things aren't made for that audience. They're
I
made
get
for
it.
everybody.
It's to inform everybody, but that brings me to another subject. Like, if they hadn't dumbed the collective down so badly, then maybe it wouldn't be like this, you know? So it goes back to how we've been kept, what's in the dark, like protected. Like, I know they think they're
Right,
protected,
right.
you know, and
No, they don't. They don't care. They're not protecting us. They're protecting
themselves,
themselves.
right? Of course,
Right.
of course. But like in the I guess let me say I said that poorly. Announcing that they're protecting us from something when really they're only protecting themselves. It's the same
Yeah.
kind
They're
of,
they're they're worried about keeping the banks open for Monday. That's all they care about.
but
You know.
no, but that's just, yeah, I can't, I have nothing to say except ew. Um, but yeah, that makes sense. And little Easter eggs are fun, but I wonder, back in the 20s and 30s in the educational system, the smart kids were tracked with the smart kids, and the less intellectually inclined and maybe more manually inclined, because there are different kinds of intelligence, right? Like, we know that. Y- y- I feel like that the people who enjoy the Easter eggs are starved for content that actually brings more information. A little bit. I being one of those people.
hmm
And I don't mean to sound like arrogant, like I know more and I need more. Like, it's not like that. It's more how much how much people can allow the narrative to just go put that in a compartment long enough to consider the other information. And then the other issue I have is I had a discussion, um, which started one way but ended up about programming. The 50 plus crowd. We still like TV series. We still like the X-Files. The problem is that gamers are now the big audience. We've got Gala Games is now Gala Music. They've got a record company. It's like, and the gamer, like, things are being geared to gamers, which leaves the 50-year-olds like, really? Do I have to watch bad dialogue that ties together sex, violence, or sensationalism? It's boring.
Well, that's why they have a million streaming services now, and there's probably about over 1,000 channels that anything can be watched in an instant. So you know what I mean? It's just
I do, and I'm grateful for that on the one hand, but at what point do we start repeating things at the public that actually allow them to grow instead of keeping them stuck in a narrative, And I think that you're part of, excuse me,
well,
the
all the stuff that I've worked on so far I've worked. The starting idea wasn't mine. Now I have a couple things happening that are in development that are actually my idea Like I
Good.
created this show.
Good.
So, we'll see what happens. Hopefully they'll get made. Never know.
It's true. I mean, that's work. If we're going to talk exclusively about the business, you just throw pasta at the wall and the ones that stick, yay, and then you just keep trying. You just keep going.
Yep.
It's you got to kind of be like a juggernaut and you got to really be comfortable with getting told no a lot. You know,
Yep.
some people don't really understand how humans have the stamina to be in that business and just hear no more than.
Well, luckily, it's not that I've been hearing no. I've just been hearing, not yet or not right now. So, so
Well,
at
that's
least it's
better
not
than
no.
no.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Um, now a tear in the sky, like you got to be in that. And you got to hang out with Caroline Corey, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
That was actually going to be a TV series, but COVID hit, and I signed a deal with Morgan Freeman and his company Revelation, and it was gonna be filmed on boats, and Dan Aykroyd was gonna join us, so that would have been fun.
Well, how
But
perfect is
COVID
that?
hit,
His family's
and
got a whole history
yeah,
of mediumship and all kinds of stuff. He's into all this stuff big
yeah,
time. Yeah.
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 So COVID hit, and it sat on the shelf for a while, and then Caroline spoke to another friend of mine. She was getting ready to make her next movie, so it was all worked out. We just, instead of doing it on boats, we did it just on the island and on the shore. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad it all worked out and got brought forward. Stuff
And
is
it's on
really
Tubi
important.
right now for free. So if anybody wants to watch A Tear in the Sky for free,
Go
it's
to
on
Tubi.
Tubi.
I'll
Yeah.
put all the links down there eventually before I post this. So I'll do my best, and I'm sure David will help me and supply me with these links if I'm getting.
Oh, no, no, no. It's all
Nope.
on you.
All
I'm
on
joking.
me. Okay, well, I better put my blonde roots
Yeah.
away.
There you go.
All right, I will put my I am organized hat and I'll find as many links as I can and I
Yeah.
will stuff them down there in the
Just
description.
go to my Facebook. They're probably all there on my posts. I post everything that's on
Or
my posts.
IMDb. You guys can go on IMDb. If you don't have IMDb Pro, sometimes it's harder to
Yeah, no,
see.
but the
Like
movie's not on IMDb.
no, the movie's not on IMDb. No, no, no. I
Right,
think
so forget IMDb.
IMDb if you want to see what David's done.
Yeah.
That's more it's more of an information source if you want to
Yeah.
see
I
credits
think I
and
have like more music videos that I'm in listed than anything else. It's kind of funny.
yeah, I saw that. Um, wow. So, Caroline Corey, and I asked you in a message what you know about remote viewing and if you ever tried it before, and your answer was
Well, I
no.
mean, I know all about it. I've never tried it. If you're going to ask me if we thought about it for the movie, the answer is it was mentioned, but we wanted to keep the data and what we did as scientific as possible because we had people working with us from NASA and other people in the space industry that they wanted to publish a white paper if possible, and it wouldn't happen with remote viewing in it. So yeah, we
That
didn't try
makes
it.
sense. But as far as
But I will say that personally, I'm like, come on to myself, thinking, show yourselves, you bastards. I did, and I'm sure everybody else there was probably thinking the same thing. So in a way, maybe not out loud, but I'm sure everybody was thinking it.
well, I mean, and I've got a question, and it doesn't have to be like on camera, but if you ever want to like dabble in casual remote viewing, you're more than welcome to hop in on a Tuesday or Thursday with my girls, and we can have a target and
Are they hot?
we can play.
No, I'm joking.
No, they're not.
I'm
They're
joking.
not.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
I'm
I'm
the only one.
joking. I'm
It's
joking.
okay. You can joke. I
Yeah,
can take it.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, if I was gonna do it, I'm sure like I'd go out to like a CE5 event or something like that. But thank you. I appreciate the offer.
You're welcome. I mean, it's really not, information is non-local
Yeah,
and
I mean,
it's
like I probably first heard remote viewing from Ed Dames in the '90s with Art Bell. You know what I
right.
mean? And
Yeah, it's been around.
I know. I've spoken with Hal Puthoff before. Kit Green, I follow Kit Green's work for years. Andre Puharich, I know all about it. Yeah.
Yeah. All I can tell you is doing it and knowing it are two different things, even though like one's intellectual and one is visceral. So,
Right. Yeah.
but it's nothing to be uncomfortable with. Anybody out there who's
Yeah.
uncomfortable with the idea of
I'm
remote
not. I'm
viewing.
not against anybody else trying it. It's just that everything we've done has been science based on science. We haven't done anything that involves any kind of woo. You know what I mean? At all. And it's not because I didn't want to. It was because it
The
wasn't.
party didn't
Well,
call for it at the time.
right.
Right. I get
Right.
it. I get it.
Yeah.
Get it. Um, wow. All right. So do you
Lol.
lol? Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think of the questions I want to ask. Like I watched Alien Encounters last night because
Hmm.
you were sending me links. I wanted to be able to see some of your work, and I enjoyed it very much. And that, of course, is one of the ones that set up like a reality show with the cliffhangers and
Yeah.
all. Right, 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 right. So
Hmm.
that
And
that's a
hopefully we'll get a season two. I don't know yet. I'm hoping.
well, I would hope so, and that's clearly the kind of stuff that, in turn Netflix and Hulu would turn around and license and throw on there, season one, two, eventually, probably. Because that seems to be how it works. You guys put
Yeah, it's on Discovery, Discovery Plus, and Max. It's on
right.
Max.
So
Yeah.
any people who still have conventional cable and landlines and
Yeah,
Ethernet
so
connection,
it's on regular TV and streaming. So
cool. Do you have a favorite project that you worked on?
um probably probably the J.J. Abrams series and Alien Encounters was pretty cool too. The J.J. Abrams series was called UFO. Yeah, and that was a four-part miniseries that was on Showtime.
I'll have to go back and check it.
Hmm.
There's so much content now. It's
You're preaching to the choir. I know.
um I'm hoping that people at the studios start considering more woo material that has some.
Yeah. So the speaking of Alien Encounters, so the first season, all they really wanted was UFO and alien evidence because we filmed in Roswell.
Mm,
Uh, and I said to them, look, if we can introduce other things that go along with the UFO and alien phenomenon, such as Bigfoot reports, poltergeist activity, other stuff, that opens us up to a wider range of evidence because, I know people that have infrared night vision recordings of possible Bigfoot, people that have recorded phenomena, poltergeist stuff in their house, and this stuff happens, but they don't get it. They think that this stuff doesn't happen. They've never, to them, like having a UFO encounter and then going home and having poltergeist activity happen because you had a UFO encounter. That to them, that is
it's
just
not
what do you?
correlated.
It no, not they.
They don't
They look
connect
at you
it. They
like
don't connect it.
you're crazy for talking about.
Well, not really. I mean,
They're like
as crazy as Chris
witchcraft.
Bledsoe.
That's witchcraft. Yeah, yeah.
Bledsoe's
They
not
don't.
crazy.
They don't consider. Yeah, but like if like Chris, if he were to do any show now, they probably be like, don't talk about that other stuff. Just tell us about your UFO encounter.
Well,
Right.
that's an issue I have with our people. Like, if we can call Hollywood our people, just for the moment, for the purpose of this
Yeah, and
discussion.
it's 100%. But like I said, for season two, they're open to it. Now they're telling me if we do season two, yes, we'll also include Bigfoot evidence, and we'll do that. So we'll
I've got
see.
a script that I've been sitting on for, like, I read it back in the 80s. It was way ahead of its time. I'm not going to discuss what it's about because I'm just not. But it's totally woo, and it has to do with sound frequencies. And there's no way, like, it almost got optioned once. It almost, people look at it, the script is really, really good. But I'm wondering if, like, now's not the time to pop it back out and send it to a couple places,
Mhm.
you know, if that's the case. Um, So it's good. It's good that the mindset, I hope, is changing a little bit. I mean, personally, like Bob and Lala, I live with orbs. If it weren't for Lala telling me you should go get a little nanny cam and see what's going on in your house, right? And so sure enough, I've got hundreds of documented the orbs interacting. It's not fake, you know. You've seen Bob and Lala stuff, haven't you?
Baba.
Baba. We have it's like Brangelina. It's Babla.
Hmm.
Babka. I'm hungry.
Yeah, I mean,
How do you explain
I'm
that?
not,
That
I'm not, I'm not really a big orb guy as far as, like the small ones caught on film, but like the
right, nobody
bigger
cares.
ones, the bigger illuminate, like ones that self illuminate, that you, without a doubt, like those are to me amazing. You know what I mean? Like we're talking golf ball to however big, I've seen different ones. Those I'm intrigued by, you know.
Well, I mean,
But
I know the one that
I
went by
guess
my
I
head.
guess I've just seen too many other, bless you. I've seen too many
Thank
other
you.
orb stuff to last me a lifetime.
I'm
You know what I
sure.
mean?
Like we'll see, and that's it. Like orb stuff is boring. That people want to see like monster
Now, an orb
experiments.
that turns into like a little gremlin, I'll send me that,
Well,
you know,
I can send you a Dropbox of something, and then I don't know, I haven't looked back at it, but when
of a
I was,
gremlin. The
yeah,
gremlin.
maybe. How much you willing to pay for my Gremlin tape? I'm kidding.
Depends, man. Like, is it a real gremlin
I
or
don't
is
know.
it
Ask
like a?
TMZ could be your competition for that one. I don't know.
I work for
Gremlins at
TMZ too, so
16 candles, Gremlins. Uh-oh.
yeah. 16 Candles Gremlins.
You don't know I was in 16 Candles? I played her best friend.
No, but I mean, it doesn't. I just didn't make like 16 Candles Gremlins. Those two don't go together.
And Orbs. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, 16
I'm
Candles
really,
critters go
I'm
together
good
at my
friends
house.
with. I'm really. One of my buddies is Anthony Michael Hall.
Of course. I know Anthony
Yeah,
Michael Hall well. I spent a
Mike.
lot of time with him before we started.
Yeah, I was doing his Comic Cons for a while. Anyway, yeah, orbs to me, like, yeah. So
I don't know. Lala said that she saw one fly by a couple times and it got bigger every time. And I think after we started or stopped recording, I don't know what the
like to
timestamp
me,
is.
for me to freak out over an orb, it would have to like fly down,
Land
like
on your head.
stop. No, just stop, sit there, and then maybe. But yeah, I don't know. That to me, if it orb did something different than it usually does, then I would be like, oh, that's cool.
Like I said, I got to go look back because she insisted that it sprouted wings. And then Richard Doty saw one. Doty saw one. He's like, an orb just went by, right? He overspoke me. He interrupted. It was pretty funny twice, but whatever. Um,
Yeah, because I believe everything Rick says. I'm joking. I'm joking, Rick. I love you. You know it.
I know, right? The disinformer. No,
I always, people are like, how can you be friends with him? He's
I
gonna lie to
know.
you all the time.
I know. I know. I got some pushback from a
I
friend.
don't
I
care. He's
warned
my
you about
buddy,
that,
man. I
Doty.
like Rick. Rick's a nice
I do
person.
too. I think
Yeah.
he's a very kind person, and I think his
Always answers the phone if I have any questions. He's always
always
there.
answers emails. He's very,
Yeah.
very, very well mannered when it comes to that. He's got nothing to hide, it seems like. I know
Yeah.
that's a funny thing to say about somebody who was
But I don't believe everything he tells me, and I'll tell Rick the same thing because he can't. He can't tell.
right. I
It's
was
not
going to say some
right.
things he can't
Right.
talk about,
Right.
and you know, if anything, he might respond with something that would take you that way. He knows how to. He's been trained to do that. Take you off the subject and put you on a new one. Um,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean he's not a good guy at the bottom of
That's right.
everything. I get a good feeling from him. Um, yeah, more lull, more thinking.
Just answering my Twitter
That's
notifications.
okay. That's okay. These are casual chats, man. This
Yeah.
is like real life. You've got tweets and I've got birds tweeting,
What
and
kind of birds do you have?
I've got three African gray parrots and one
Grays, yeah.
black-headed kite.
I
Yeah.
had in college we had African gray and a cockatoo, and I worked in a pet shop during college, and we had an off-campus apartment. My one roommate was the manager of the pet shop, and my other roommate Doug and I were both like salespeople, and we took care of the animals. And we had 7 fish tanks. We had an African gray, a cockatoo, an iguana, a cat, a ferret, and just other random pets, and we were allowed nothing. We weren't allowed to have any pets, and it was an off-campus apartment, but it was still related to the campus, so we still had RAs and all that stuff.
Right. It was
And
housing.
I'll never forget the night an RA came in our room, and she was like, "You guys have a parrot?" She's like, "It's all got to go, man." Yeah,
Oh my God.
we had all those animals
How long did you get away with that?
for about a year and a half.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's pretty slick, man. I think, Ross Coulthart is my hero right now, but you might be vying for like a cool second place right there just with
Right?
that story.
Yeah, never forget that.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Um, so like with all the information that you consume and are presented with, pretty much nonstop. I mean, clearly you go looking for it because it's your job. Um, how do you feel like at night? How do you decompress? Do you,
I watch
it's a
UFO
lot.
documentaries. No,
Yeah,
I
no.
like every night when I go to bed, I try to go to bed a little early, and I put on some old Art Bell episodes. That's what I do, man.
Right. I
Like
listen to audiobooks about
that's it.
who made the moon. Like I'm
Yeah,
just as bad as you are. It's like, okay, let's
yeah.
decompress now.
That
Let's listen to an
to me,
audiobook. Oh,
that stuff
cool.
is gold. Like that, and I listen to a lot of Long John Neville, who had a radio show in the 50s, and
Yes.
he had on like Albert Bender, and people like Donald Kehoe and Kenneth Arnold. Back when UFOs first were ever around in the media. I love
Well,
that stuff.
do you think that it's worth encouraging the audience to go looking for that stuff so that they can inform
Yeah,
themselves? Because
because they'll realize that everything that's happening now and that's being talked about now has all happened before. Like some people don't know like that there was ufology before 2014 when the New York Times came out in 2017, right? Like they just
right.
don't even like the hearings that they're having. They're not talking about anything that happened before the Nimitz case. It's all stuff that happened like now, not stuff that
Right.
happened
But
in the
yeah, it's all
past.
post Nimitz. Like
Yeah, it's they act like none of it ever happened. So
well, and what I find kind of interesting, and I'm not sure if it's good or bad, like my kids, one's 25, one's 35, and one's 30. So, or one's 32. She doesn't know how old her children are. That's okay. Um, and they seem to not really, it's almost like they're indifferent or neutral. And I think like it's not that, ooh, we're not alone. Like they don't care about that. But I also think that they're not aware of the suppression and how that's affected everything. They've just sort of waltzed in on it like, somebody's born in 1999. They're not really even listening to this stuff unless they're a kid whose parents are into it and they're surrounded by it.
right.
Right? So like excuse me. How do you how would you go about like, I mean, is there an after school class like you know how public schools have after school classes? Would you think that like that would maybe be a good idea to get like an after school interested in ufology class for these kids like in
Um,
elementary school? How do we get it into the
I
education?
I I don't think that
Too
they're
soon?
gonna because that's gonna scare the shit out of kids, right?
Is it?
Some kids, yeah, they are not,
Well, but what
especially
about
kids that
teaching them
are.
about energy and consciousness and meditating? I mean, that's a good
The
intro
problem
into
is
it.
like that's almost in a way the same thing as bringing religion into schools. If you think about it, right? Like,
Kinda.
and the people that like Christians in schools, if they're going to be like, "You're teaching my kid the devil," you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
that's not going to go over well.
yeah, we see how the trans community is being treated.
Right? Imagine like aliens
It's-
and Christians. They really think like,
that
trust
they're
me, like,
demons, right?
because I said earlier, like I was developing a show, Are Aliens Demons? And had to do a lot of research on that, and like If an alien lands in a Christian neighborhood, all you're going to hear is click, click, bang. The second that thing walks off the ship, right?
Probably.
For sure.
Um,
For
well,
sure.
yeah, but
Because,
like
and
this
it
this all
was,
goes back to programming and like, but this is all mental. It's all based on the ideas that people hold tight to between here. Like if that could just get loosened a little bit,
you probably have a better chance of having like mushrooms added to the kids' menu at school to open
right?
consciousness.
Micro dosing the kids without
Right.
the
You
parents
probably have
figuring
a
it out.
easier chance of that happening than actually talking about
You
aliens.
know that like we're never going to ever be in charge of any kind of school now that you said that, right? They want to microdose them. They can't know. Board of
I never
Education.
made
No.
it past 11th grade. I'm doing all right.
Hey man, I quit at 10th, so
Yeah.
I didn't like to be told what to think by anybody, So that's probably not good
I
for,
was asked to leave. So,
well, you're edging up past Ross Coldheart now.
yeah.
I was asked to leave. Like that's like
Yeah.
getting kicked off Facebook. Really? You're my hero. What'd you
Yeah.
say? Can I say it? Man. Wow.
But I still went to college. I got my GED and all that. So,
Hmm.
whatever.
Well, they always say that college is much different from high school. It's a different experience. It's a different way of learning. You're talked to by professors, who are at Aaron.
All I did probably was hang out with girls more than I did anything when I was in college. Like, you can use your imagination. I don't think I did anything else, much of anything else. I definitely didn't graduate college.
That's okay. So we get all these crazy things that we do out of the way. I did so many things when I was 16. Like I said before we started recording, I'm amazed I'm even alive. So like I'm glad I got it
You and
all
me
out of the
both.
way. Glad I got it out of the way. Oh man, I really feel like sometimes we have to like get in the mud and really experience it to know what not to do. There are just people who are wired like that.
Yeah.
You need a visceral experience to understand why you don't want to do that. Like, you know, it reminds me of when I was little and they told me not to put my fingers in the electric socket, so I decided to stick a fork in there instead. And then I was like, wait,
How'd that work out
oh,
for you?
huh? How'd that go
How,
for me? I
yeah.
tried it again after that because I wanted to see. I'm always, I don't know, I've got a very inquiring mind and then a very no filter. And sometimes I just like to drive and open the thing and not read the instruction book and just go and find out later. It hasn't killed me yet.
Not yet. Knock on
Not
wood.
yet. Emphasis on yet. It's all right. Wow. So I think I heard noises about Giamatti doing a biopic on Art Bell. Have you heard that?
It's not on his IMDb. I looked.
No, but I've heard
So,
whispers. Like I've
yeah,
heard,
but I don't believe anything the UFO community says. So, that and like AI, just there's so many. You go on Facebook and there's like all these like, oh my god, that sequel looks amazing, and you're like, oh wait, that's like an AI made thing. You know what I mean? Like I haven't seen anything definitive yet about that happening.
hmm,
But yeah, that would be cool. I
stranger
think if
things have
anybody
happened.
knew, it would be Heather Wade because Heather was Art's producer when he passed away, and if she knows, she's keeping her mouth shut.
Yeah, well, I'm sure his managers would probably know,
Mm-hmm.
Nick and
Or
the lady.
his widow and his daughter.
Hmm. Yeah, man. Can you imagine being directly related to Art Bell? Seriously, exposed to lots and lots of stories there, man. Just watching it happen.
Yep.
Well, um, what are you doing as far as promoting stuff? Like what's on the table right now? What should we be talking about?
I mean, I'm not promoting anything right now. Everything I'm working on is in development. You know what I mean? Waiting for networks to give the green light
The
on a
green
couple
light.
of things. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything that we haven't talked about that's out there on
No.
some station somewhere that you want people to see. Um,
No.
We're not going to talk about what you don't want anybody to see because that'll just make them want to see it more.
Yeah, right. I wish I could talk about stuff. Unfortunately, I can't yet.
No, 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 no. That's
No, but I'm
okay.
saying I want, I wish I had something to promote. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, you never know. In a week, you could have a conversation with somebody that you didn't think was going to show up on your doorstep, and you have five things more to talk about.
God, I hope not. I'm locking my door.
Depends who it is.
You're gonna hear that again.
No, as
No,
long
I'm
as you're
joking.
not the one going, ch ch.
No, I'm
Jeez,
joking. I
jeez.
got a Ring camera anyway, so it's all
Do
good.
you? Has it picked
Poor,
up anything weird ever?
just the UPS driver. He's kind of a weird guy.
Is he?
No, joking.
Did you catch him picking his nose?
No,
Not yet.
I think I think all the delivery drivers are well aware that there's cameras out front these days. So
Well, what do you think is going to happen with disclosure? Just not because of any information you have, but just, I mean, I guess that would actually probably be part of your answer, but without disclosing where the information comes from, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think we're going to have open contact by 2027? Do you think there's going to be an event? Like what do you
I think that I don't put any, ironically, we'll say faith in prophecy. So yeah, so anything, I mean, like I said, anybody can go back, and if you listen to Art Bell in the 90s, every every episode of Art Bell that came out in January has, like, here's an example: 1999, year of disclosure, right? Then you'll go back to 1998 to the January episode. 1998, and it's the disclosure year, right? 1997, every January, and you have on Stephen Greer, Stephen Bassett, Linda Moulton Howe, like
the usual suspects, right?
the same cast of characters going, next month, it's here, right? And this has happened. These people have, like, Stephen Greer has been saying this every January since the 1990s. Every year, the same thing. Stephen Bassett too, same thing. And look, I would love for disclosure. I would love for it to happen. I am a member of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, Stephen Bassett's group. I'm all for it. Do I think it's going to happen because a UFO researcher said it's coming next month? No, because they've been saying it for 30 plus years now.
What do you think would force it to happen?
I mean, if an actual real craft showed up everywhere, like, that would, because if they just show video of one hovering above the White House, no one's going to believe it. No one's going to believe it's a real video, or they'll
Well,
think it's our craft or something like that.
or it's AI, or it's somebody who
Right,
figured out how to,
right,
right. But see,
right.
that's the
Like,
danger
I
of
don't. That's
AI.
why
Like,
I
and
don't even. I don't. That's why I think that Project Bluebeam thing is a bunch of bullshit, because I don't think they could pull it off. People wouldn't believe it. Like, they'd have to have literally like so many holograms of UFOs that they'd be over every house in the world,
well, the thing
right?
is like in 1950, whatever, when they decided blue beam was the way to go, the society of night, like the Leave It to Beaver society, would have been completely like, oh my God. But we've been
No,
so desensitized.
I don't think, like, after the Brookings report came out before we went to the moon, I think that, like, they already knew back then that even finding anything that's been dead for a million years on the moon was enough to freak people out. So, I don't think that they ever really actually considered to do a fake alien invasion. Especially, I mean, even after the radio show, the War of the Worlds thing, how many people
Orson Welles, yeah.
had to try to commit suicide or died and stuff. I don't think they ever really put a lot of thought into that. It actually had an actual plan. Even if, like, let's say a craft showed up over, like, one over New York, one over Russia, whatever, like people would think, oh, those must be like we built those, unless they got an alien that's going to hop out and be like, hey guys, you
Well,
know.
what about the idea that the alien doesn't have to hop out and say, "Hey guys," but if there's telepathic communication between P3s and craft that are sentient, then what's to say some
Unless every single person on the earth got a telepathic
That's what
message,
I'm saying. That's what I'm
and that's
saying.
how, and people still would be like, that's our government messing with us.
Well,
Not everybody would believe that. They'd be like, oh, it's some type of
I'm having a
government.
hallucination. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, like they would, like there's all these non-lethal weapons and stuff like that they work on, like the Cuban stuff, like that. What happened in Cuba and with these directed energy weapons, and who knows? They probably. It wouldn't surprise me if they actually are able to do that, right? Like, would it really surprise me? No, no. Do they have that technology? Not likely, but I would not be surprised if they did and they tried that shit.
Well,
Nothing would surprise me.
I would feel like if it's anything, it's probably some offshoot, like en masse MK Ultra through some kind of sound frequency. That's the only way they'd be able to do it because frequencies carry information.
In the
Waves carry information.
during the Cold War, they had they were doing stuff like building these fake looking vampire creatures and stuff like that to scare away different like different communists that were very religious. You know what I mean? Like they would go into the jungles and try to scare the crap out of them using their religious beliefs, but they never really. They were going to try and project the second coming of Christ over Cuba. Like that was a plan. So who knows?
Well, I guess if too many people talk about it, it kind of ruins the plan because it's not a secret anymore.
Well,
Got to come up with something better.
no. This is all
A long time ago.
a lot. Yeah, declassified. Nick Redfern, he wrote an entire book on this
He's
stuff.
great. If anybody
Yeah.
out there doesn't know who Nick Redfern is, go
Hmm.
find his stuff. A lot of really good information.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. Well, I still have hope. I have hope that something happens. John Ramirez, like people talk about the event. Have you heard about that? Do you have anything to say about the event and what you think it possibly is?
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about this, and I said it in the past two interviews. I brought it up that I was told way before John Ramirez, anybody even knew John Ramirez's name. I was told by somebody that is connected to intelligence that 2027 was going to be an asteroid, and
You're not the only person I've heard it from. Asteroid.
and
Somebody
look
said,
what happened. Like 2 days ago, yesterday, they just put out all these articles that there's an asteroid coming.
yeah, there's somebody who was interviewed several times. Miriam.
No,
Miriam.
no, no. I'm talking here. Do you know what article I'm talking about?
Not specific to you, but like I just saw an interview with somebody who said that Meteor 2027 San Francisco area,
No, no, no,
like I
no.
don't know.
So I just sent you the article. It came out the day after I did a podcast. So yesterday it came out,
Hmm. Okay.
and it says city killer asteroid headed for Earth. When and where it will hit us? And they're saying 2032 is when this thing is supposed to hit. And it was just spotted for the first time on December 27th, allegedly.
Well, it would really be nice if they could take all these frequency weapons that they're reverse engineering and use it to
Right?
the meteor instead of using it to screw with us. Like, how
I'm
about we
trying to see where it says. Oh, it's. Let's see.
can't they use directed
Oh,
energy?
it doesn't say anything about where it's gonna. Well, what I was told was that the reason the whole disclosure thing is happening is because they're not aliens from space, whatever they are, or they used to be in space. They live here now, under the ocean and under the ground, and we've known about the asteroid. And these entities are supposed to show themselves and lend us their technology, and we're going to team up with them to divert this asteroid, and that's why they're doing all the disclosure stuff.
How much do you think the hadron colliders that we have all over the globe are uh, affecting
I have
space
no idea.
fabric? Like, no idea.
I mean, I could be like, yeah, they open portals to hell every day. I mean, I don't know. Did they cause the Mandela effect? I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to see where, if it says where this asteroid is heading. Uh, it says if you put it over Paris, London, or New York, you basically wipe out the entire city.
Hmm.
So, yeah, man.
Well, time to find an underground civilization, see if anybody wants to adopt a 60-year-old woman who knows how to make music and nice art.
Well, you would be, let's see, 20, you'd be 75-ish by the time this thing comes. 2030, was it 2030 something? And that's an estimate. Let's see.
77,
They're
20.
probably not going to mention where it is now, not just so people there don't start freaking out and moving.
Freaking out like a
You know what I
mass,
mean?
right, a mass exodus.
Yeah.
Well,
They'll
because people
probably
do
wait till
freak
like
out.
a week before. Yeah, I mean, like it's probably coming a lot sooner. It's probably a lot bigger, and we've probably known about it for a lot longer, right? So I don't know.
No, maybe that's what this big giant push for AI and moving to Mars and all this other stuff. I mean, there's that show For All Mankind. I don't know if you watch it. Do you on Apple TV? Have you seen it?
Is that the astronaut one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's like alternate reality where they.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen it.
The alternate reality.
I've
Yeah.
seen. I've seen it.
Season five's coming and then
I've seen
they
like 2 episodes of it. I've never watched like
oh,
the
I watched
season.
the whole thing.
No,
I
I
watched
don't.
twice through. Like, I'm
Nope.
not. Nope. Well, interesting. I would say that the creators and the producers are definitely I mean, of course, every Hollywood creation has people consulting, so you know that. But the storyline is interesting, especially since there are runaway civilizations and modules on the moon and people moving there and people harvesting asteroids and people diverting them from going to Earth and hogging them on Mars because the Russians and the Americans and then the private corporation that's already on Mars, they're all three of them like, who's gonna,
Too
yeah.
much information for me.
Well, to me, it's not it's interesting to see the storylines that are being put out, like and if that's part of like the slow drip trying to make people realize that
I
a lot,
think they're just running out of ideas and they're trying anything and everything.
you think
Hmm.
it's possible too. I mean,
Yeah,
sensationalism
I mean,
sells.
what's his name? That other writer, the one that did Blade Runner. What's his name? Oh my God, Philip K. Dick. I mean, he wrote a lot of stuff like that, like
Yeah, he
way
does.
way back.
Lots of books.
Hmm.
He's got lots of books. I've listened to a couple of them on the Audible.
Oh, hang on 1 second.
Go ahead.
My sister.
I'm an only child. Both my parents were only children. And then I went and had three kids. So the only experience I have with siblings is watching my three children interact.
Hmm.
It was pretty trippy. I thought there was something wrong with them. My cousin was like, "No, Leanne, you're an only child. You don't get it. Boys argue." It's like I'd run in there and they'd be trying to kill each other. And by the time I get in there, they'd be looking at me like, "What? We're fine." What is this noise? I don't know. Were you and your sister pretty good? Well behaved?
Oh yeah, yeah. She's asking me to help her with something, but I told her to wait.
No, but when you were kids, I mean, you guys got along?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, she's older than me, so she was out of the house. You know what I mean? Doing her own thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's your sister. She wants your help with something. I don't want to hold you up too long. I mean, I don't know. Um, is there anything that you want to add to the conversation that's not prompted by a question?
No, I mean, pretty much said it all. Like it'd be better for me to come back after I have something out. You know what I mean?
Well, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Anytime. Anytime. You're welcome in my space anytime, Mr. Altman.
Cool.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. I just thank you so much for
Yeah.
spending some linear time with me on the
No
weekend.
problem. Anytime.
Thanks for joining, you guys, and we'll see you next time on Riding the
All right.
Frequency.
Thanks. Take care, guys.
Well, there you have it. Casual chat with Mr. David Altman. All right. We'll see you guys next time on Riding the Frequency, and go check out some of his stuff if you haven't. I'll leave all of the information right down there. And if you enjoyed the chat, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and we'll see you next time. Keep riding the frequency. Keep riding the frequency. And remember, you're the awareness.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm the